All right, this is Psalms 46 and 6. It says, the heathen raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the, the earth melted. All right, so that's what we're going to be getting into in this lesson. Before we do, I'm going to say, call him like Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, Wahara Kakodash. That's all praise to the Most High, who people call God, whose name is Yahweh, and the name of his Son, whose name is Yahweh Shai, who people call Jesus. Salutations to the elder apostles over the Great Millstone Church and elder bishops, and to all the rest of the Akims pushing and holding on. So yeah, the heathen rage, Psalms 46 and 6, the heathen rage, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. Yeah, and that's in that order. That's how everything's gonna play out. Basically, this is dealing with the heathen acting crazy, you know, who you Israelites, us Israelites, find ourselves in subjection to, you know, and they tell you that when you read the book of Second Ezra, I believe the 3rd chapter, where it says these heathens who have always been nothing have now become to be lords over us, because that's the other thing this is going into when it says the heathen rage. It's talking about the rulers. It's talking about the kings. So let's just get that real quick. Those in which the earth has been given into, starting with the elite bankers. All right, the small hats. Let's get there real quick. So real quick, 2nd Ezra 6 and 55, it says, all this have I spoken before thee. I'm going to start at, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them, right? Who's the other, which is who's the them, which is obviously what? Who? The heathen. All right. It says, of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, right, have begun to be lords. Have begun to be lords over us and to devour us. So it says, but we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure? Right? It's because it's the world of Esau, right? We're in the kingdoms of the heathen right now, all right? Which goes back into that statue that, you know, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed about, has shown unto him, that Daniel was set forth to break down to him, explain, all right? Which all was comprised of different metals, you know, and each metal basically represented a heathen empire, a heathen reign, you know, time period from a certain heathen race of a certain heathen race. All right. So you had, you know, all these different heathen races from the you know, his kingdoms on the statue, starting with Babylon. All right. And then, or it went, let me pull it up. So you see right here, you got Babylon, then you got the Persians and the Medes, right? Or the Medio-Persian Empire, right? The Babylonian Empire, Medio-Persian Empire, because they were warring against one another. They took each other down, all right? So the Babylonian Empire was taken down, hence, you know, a bunch of heathens. They were taken down by the Medes and Persians, you know, which was a bunch of more heathens. They were Elamites. The Babylonians were Hamites, and then the Macedonians were so-called white people, all right, dealing with the time of the Greeks, all right, the Greek Empire, you know, the Hellenists, start with Alexander the Greek, he took them down. So they were warned. It says and then the legs of iron, right? Which is the Roman Empire. Other heathen, other Edomite, so-called white people taking down other so-called white people. And then they will come back again, fight their way back into power through craziness, senselessness, deceit, double treachery, so forth and so on, to have the same thing happen again. So it goes gold, it had a gold, and then notice each one would get weaker because it start with gold and then it goes from gold to silver, head of fine gold, to breast of arms and silver, to belly and thigh of brass, to legs of iron, feet and toes of clay. So is they all have their purpose, but they all, probably be, in this order preferred least, from the top to the bottom, but to say the least. So this is what is pretty much the sentiment of Esdras. These heathens, they become to be lords and rulers over us. All right, and I'm gonna get one more, because that's what this is talking about when they say the heathen raged. All right, meaning when they got in power. All right, and what they did to be in power, or to keep their power. All right, so we gonna come here to Sirach, chapter 36, and we're gonna jump to the 9th verse. It says, "Let him that escape it." Right. Let's actually start at 8. It says, I'm gonna start at 7. "Raise up indignation and pour out wrath. Take away the adversary and destroy the enemy." Because why? They wicked. The crap they got going on, right? Make the time short. Please remember the covenant. Why? Because if the Lord doesn't, no flesh is going to be saved. Because these heathen are raging. They are in uproars, all, on their levels. All of them, from the protests to the rumors of war, the threatening of, nuclear catastrophe, bombing, the force of the sword, war, World War III, just raging, because that's the word rage deal with, but we'll get there. So, but again, these heathen is talking about all these non-Israelites, starting with the kings of the earth, the so-called kings of the earth, the rulers. It says, so again, make the time short because of all of these things, because they're in power, but they're wicked. They're acting crazy, They got everything subject to destruction because they don't know the Lord. They don't rule, though they're so-called kings, because they're so-called because they set themselves. They don't rule by the Lord. All right, because these are kings, which we're going to get that too. So again, let him that escape it be consumed. See, let him, matter of fact, let me start back at 8, make the time short, remember the covenant, and let them that declare thy wonderful works. Let him that escape it be consumed by the rage of the fire. Right, because they starting something, they causing all this havoc, all this chaos, because that's the word rage that go into, and, create all these weapons, these wasters, that's going to waste lands, and what's going to happen? They're going to flee, just madness. Like a serpent that bite themselves. And I said I was going to get that. Let me get it real quick. I forget the scripture I was going to get now. But anyway, it says, let him that escape it, Slocky escapes me, it'll come back, Lord will. Let him that escape it be consumed by the rage of the fire, and let them perish that oppress See, and let them perish that oppress the people. So, because the elites, we're in the cusp of World War III right now, and it can't happen until the MOTB system is set up, which is them wanting to turn everybody into robots and fulfill their fantasy of wanting to be God, play as God, which is ridiculousness. Hence they're raging. They're in an uproar. They want to keep their control. They want to have control over one another. You know what I'm saying? This is what they want to do. And basically, again, they're gonna go to the point of no return through missiles, which all that is written. You can read about that in Amos the 9th chapter, and they're gonna hide themselves. The elite of them. Despite how many casualties are had, all for their self, what's the word I'm looking for? They're selfish and ambitious. That's wicked, to say the least. Which is how you're gonna have that fire. Because it said, let him that escape it be consumed by the rage of the fire. See, let him that escape it be consumed by the rage of the fire. See that? Because that fire is going to come from those missiles that they're bringing forth for their rage, of them, they're raging. It says, and let them perish that oppress the people, which is why they're fleeing, because the nuclear missiles, it won't leave any survivors. So they already know the damage it can do. You see what I'm saying? But yet they're gonna go on and do this. They're even considering doing something to this extent. Because they're foolish rulers, again, which is what who these heathens are chiefly talking about when you read Psalms 46. Smite and sunder the heads of the rulers of the heathen. See that? Smite and sunder the heads of the rulers of the heathen that say there is none other but we. You see that? Which is why they're raging. They like, we got more missiles. Our nuclear missiles, is more powerful than yours. We're gonna rule. We're the most powerful. All right. Knowing the scriptures say that they supposedly believe in, right? He that taketh up the sword shall perish with it. It's the missile is the ultimate portion of the sword. But again, this man who is the leader, one of these people, this man who is the leader of this world, his blessing is to live by the sword. So that's all they know. That's the only way they know to communicate. So I'm gonna give you a little quick example.
Then they should oppose me, but nobody thinks it's okay. People that I don't want to fight either. I'm not looking. He called and apologized the other day.
Talking about he got a call from Tucker apologizing, and they were going back and forth.
Nice guy. He called and apologized the other day. Because he thought he said things that were a little bit too strong, and I appreciated that. And Ted Cruz is a nice guy. I mean, he's been with me for a long time. I'd say once the race was over, he's been with me ever since, right? But very simple. If they think that it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, then they should oppose me. But nobody thinks it's okay. People that I don't want to fight either. I'm not looking to fight. But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do. Maybe we won't have to fight. Don't forget, we haven't been fighting.
You can play the clip.
So you heard Trump. He know how crazy this is, but they still gonna do it. So I got another clip right here. Check it out.
And everybody knows where they're getting their sources from and what material, but everybody knows it's pretty close. And everybody knows where they're getting their sources from and what material Iran was getting from where. All of that is known, and it's been known for a long time. This is the closest they've ever been. In fact, I was really pleased to see last night, or in the middle of the night, Israel bombed Iraq, which is one of their nuclear facilities that had heavy water that's used. You get plutonium out of that. And I hope that Israel sees this till the end and that we're going to be there. I actually texted the president 2 days ago, and he texted back, and I told him that we needed to take out their nuclear facilities.
This is President Trump.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And even if we had to give them a 30,000-pound bunker buster to do it, and the B-2, I think we should do it. We have an opportunity now to put this to bed, and the world will be safer. But everybody knows.
See, these people crazy. You see that? So they're insane. They don't know what's going on. All right. So again, when you get back into this, Psalms 46 and 6, the heathen raged, the kingdoms were moved. See that? The heathen dealing with these rulers, you know, that's fighting against each other. You see what I'm saying? That's leading who's the wicked, who's the top Edomites, who are the so-called Jews today, right? Onward down to their politicians. They're fighting against other heathens, all right? For again, wicked, selfish, ruthless desires and ambitions. And for the so-called white man, his is the worst. You know, he wants to be the most high himself, right? This is Psalms chapter 110. And I'm going to jump to the point. It says, Psalms 110 and 5, the Lord at thy right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge, because what's going on. You know, what this got the earth and his people subject to. Bunch of innocent bystanders. You know, we're in the midst of World War III right now, man. You know, on the cusp of really happening. They just got to implement this dang crazy other crap they want to do. This chip, you know. It says, but at that point, you know, they don't realize what this is going to bring. It's going to bring the Lord back, and it's going to bring their end. Again, which is why it says the heathen raised and the kingdom was removed. So meaning they're going to do all this craziness, right? And it's going to bring them to an end. They're going to shoot. They're going to bring protests. It's going to throw their own cities down. They're going to, you know, make rumors of war, actually go to war to the point they shoot bombs, to the point they shoot missiles, you know, one starting at bombs. And then there go their countries. There go their power. Here come the ships, you know, that they're on the run from. There go World War III. You know what I'm saying? There go the so-called UFOs. There go the children of Israel they was trying to keep asleep. So they gonna lose it. So all this is all set up is what this is leading to. You see that? And it's on the watch, again, is on the watch of so-called leaders. So again, he shall judge among the heathen. He shall judge among the heathen. He shall fill the places with the dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries. See, he shall wound the heads over many countries. Right, because it got the earth to the point to where he had to come back. It had his people in a place of almost genocide and doubt. You know, and, you know, about looking at this man, like he gonna unestablish what the Lord established, which is the earth. So when you go back to Psalms 46 and 6, the heathen raged. See that? The kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice. The earth melted. So it's that order. They're gonna shoot. They're gonna rage. These rulers, the low class. They're low-class citizens off, after the life they want in the way, or life, if you will, in the way they think you are to get life. And it's gonna bring an end. It's gonna bring chaos. You see that? But they willing to be chaotic and crazy to bring what the life to supposedly bring life, to supposedly bring, like she said, make the world a safer place. Y'all gonna shoot, y'all willing to take their nuclear facilities down, Iran's, right, by possibly going to World War III, where you'll shoot nuclear missiles as well on the same earth. It makes no sense. But again, the heathen rage. What does it mean for the heathen to rage? The word right here is Hamah, right? Hamah, right?
Strong's H 1993. Hamah. Hamah.
It says what? Cry aloud, rage. It says be clamorous, be disquiet, be troubled, be in an uproar. See that? Be in the commotion, in the stir. All right? So they all over the place, acting crazy, talking crazy. We sitting here like, man, these mothers gonna really shoot these, which we already know. But it's just, it's crazy to see. It's amazing to see how void of counsel they truly are, and how they truly are to know people, like the Lord told us. So again, the heathen rage, they act crazy to the extent of their protesting, from the lower level civilians, from the top people that's actually watching it, who actually induced the same protest to create an order they want through creating chaos. Crazy, to obtain the order they want through creating the chaos. To the point they beefing with other rulers. They beefing with each other to the point they threatening nuclear missiles, man. Nuclear warfare. The heathen rage all over the place, man. Thinking that's gonna bring peace and make the world a safer place. It makes no sense. It says, but once and with them being in their rule and doing things how they want to do, what's going to happen? Well, once they allowed to do that, go through with that rule they have, and that's what their decision ends up being, what's going to happen? The kingdom's going to be moved. All of them going to come out of power. All these cities and rights they fighting for will be no more, because what's going to happen after that? He uttered his voice. The Lord's going to speak up and finally say something, because these people wilding for rights they shouldn't have. The so-called white man fighting for a power that he can't get. You see that? So that's when the Lord is going to say something. Once he implement that chip to show people as his worshipers, Because remember, Satan told Yahushua the same thing. And Yahushua said, that's when Yahushua said something. Right when he told him to worship him, that's when Yahushua spoke. He said, what? Get these hints. It's written, only the Most High will it's written, the Lord, only the Lord you're going to worship, roughly paraphrasing. So again, once he hit that point of raising to the point to where it's bringing an end to things, that's when the Lord come back. You see that? And then the earth gonna melt. Dealing with what? Again, the Lord coming back. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I got one more. After this, second Ezra 13:1, and it came to pass after 7 days I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof, and I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. See? And wheresoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burnt that heard his voice. See, that heard his voice, like as the earth felleth when it filleth the fire. See that? So it's talking about when the Lord come back with them chariots. You know what I'm saying? To do what? To take this damn devil down and wound the heads over many countries, man. These same heathen raging. Put them in the subjection. To hand out those scepters to his elect, his body, his brethren. To rule over these nations. Put them in subjection to where things will never get to this point again. Because if the Lord, if the Lord, look, if the Lord don't work, man, it ain't gonna be, if he, ain't gonna be no flesh left, man. The longer they allow it to play this out, they will get to the point to where it's just the whole earth a war zone in the worst way, because it's that in a way already, in a lot of different ways. But I mean, in the literal most craziest way. See that? So that's what that's talking about. And to save his elect, when they come back. All right? So everything under him, when they hear his voice is gonna melt. So the Lord gonna destroy these heathens, man. It's gonna bring the end. So it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, there were gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the men that came out of the sea. But I beheld, and lo, he graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. Talking about the ships. It says, but I will have seen the region or place where out the hill was graven, and I could not, right? Because it's the biggest ship. It's the father ship he will be on. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet there's fight. And lo, as he saw, because this is happening during the World War III, because it's going to happen, it's going to break out. It's going to be stopped to where it can hit a certain point, but it's going to be allowed to get started to where America gets destroyed. Missiles get shot on the daughter of Babylon because America is a witch. And what do you do with witches? You burn witches. You see that? That's the law. It says, he neither lifted up his hand nor held sword nor any instrument of war, but I only saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, and they were mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, because it's really talking about the chariots. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, when you read Ezekiel, it made the chariots and the angels seem like one. Their spirit is in it. So it looked like it was coming from him, but remember, he seen this coming from him, if you will, after he flew upon the ship. And when he was upon the ship, that's when this fire and stuff started coming, from what was perceived to be him. But it's really, Yahweh Shah having the chariots burn these mugs, take them out. That's why they got an Air Force. They crazy, man, the heathen raging. But they want to rage, wild out, buck up this far. Their kingdom going to be moved, man. And they don't see it, but they just stupid. It's nuts. It says, which was and the great tempest fell with violence upon the multitude, which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up every one. So that upon a sudden, right, these militaries that had all this military might and they was ready to go to war, they was in the midst of war. They spent years building. The Lord finally came back during that time when they hit their pinnacle. That's the time we in now. So they're raised to the point to where they ready to shoot missiles, and they working on chip behind the scenes to figure out a way to implement it. And then when they hit that point of no return, that's when the Lord gonna come back, hence their kingdom, and they're gonna be moved out of power. It says, which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up, every one of them, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived but only dust and smell of smoke and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. And after war, I saw the same man come down from the mountain, right? It's a ship, and call unto him an other peaceable multitude. Yeah, his elect. The people he coming to save, the Israelites. You hopefully elect, Lord willing, all of us, man. It says, and there came unto him, and there came much people unto him. It's gonna be a lot of us, though. A lot of J's gonna die. A whole lot of J's gonna be saved, man. It says, whereof some were glad, some were sorry, some of them were bound, and all we gotta do is hold on and keep pushing. All right. Other some brought of them that were offered. Then I was sick through great fear, and I awaked and said, so he had a vision, he had a dream. All right. So I'm going to give you a couple more. God's judgment unavoidable. Because again, it said what? In Psalms 46. The heathen rage, the kingdoms were moved, he uttered his voice, the earth melted, right? Within that, the heathens raging, right? They shoot missiles and then they're going to flee from the same missiles they was willing to shoot to try to get the power they want or keep the power they want over all the other ones. Specifically, the elites are going to do this, of the Edomites, right? God's judgment unavoidable, right? Because those heathens raging is going to bring that fire they're going to try to flee from, as it says in Sirach 36 and 3. It says, I'm going to actually start at 1. Have mercy upon us, O Lord God of all, and behold us, and send thy fear upon all the nations that seek not after thee. See that? Yahweh, talking about the heathen nations. Lift up thy hand against the strange nations and let them see thy power. Exactly. They all call up in they wars and bombs and, they ways to try to get the power or keep the power or not be messed with or bring world peace and all this and, make themselves out to be the world rulers and all this. So lift up thy hand against the strange nations and let them see thy power. Because this is going to result in a very bad time, a very bad situation. Because it say, let all the nations that forget thee, they're going to be turned into hell. And hell is synonymous with what? Destruction, man. A very bad, low state. People like to liken it up to fire and shit. Where you going to get your fiery hell? In the form of damn missiles having, the place or was knew of submerged in water. Submerged in fire, man. Psalms 9 and 17, it says, I'm going to start at 16. Yahweh is known by the judgment which he executed, right? Matter of fact, I'm going to start at 15. The heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made. See that? In the net which they hid is their own foot taken. Yahweh Ba'Shemiah Shai is known by the judgment which he executed. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. Hagegion, right? Salah. The wicked shall be turned into hell. And all the nations that forget, right? Yahweh Ba'Shemiah Shai. See that? They're going to be turned, and it's going to end in World War III. They're going to be turned into fuel for the fire, man. For the needy shall not be always forgotten. The expectation of the poor shall not perish. So the Lord gonna get us out of this, because though they're focused on that crap, we focused on him, man. That's why. Arise, O Yahweh Ba'Shemiah Shai, let not man prevail. Don't let them think they just gonna have their way and this makes sense. Let the heathen be judged. Let the heathen be judged in thy sight. Put them in fear, O Yahweh, let the nations may know themselves to be but men. See that? Salah. So you come back here to Sirach 36 and 3. Lift up thy hand against the strange nations and let them see thy power as thou was sanctified in us before them. So be thou magnified among them before us. We're going to see how Ba'Shemiah Shai do a number. All these news breaks, they saying how serious it is. If you don't want to die, leave. All this is heavy, man. But in that we're going to see in that same instance, the Lord's going to use those very things to show his power, man. He's suffering Pharaoh right now. It says, shoot new signs and make other strange wonders. Glorify thy hand and thy right arm that they might set forth thy wondrous works. Exactly. The angels going to guide all of this, because they can't shoot the missiles because the angels is holding the four winds, which is the spirit over these people that's going to be used to hit the buttons on the missiles. You see, they can't shoot them until the elect is went through everything they need to and sealed where they need to be at, man. You see that? That's what it's really about. He wants us at a certain point and then, to where is all witness. You know what I'm saying? But it says, raise up indignation and pour out wrath. Take away the adversary and destroy the enemy. Make the time short. Remember the covenant. Let them declare thy wonderful works. Let him that escape it, right, be consumed by the rage of the fire. See that? And let them by the rage of the fire, and let them perish that oppress the people. Smite and sunder the heads of the rulers, which are those that's going to try to escape and run, the elite bankers, from the fires and the catastrophe that they know the nuclear missiles they signed off of, invested in, so forth and so on, sponsored it could bring. That say there is none other but we. But they went on and shoot them because that was their way of getting the population down. All this crap, man. The so-called white man thinking he ain't got to answer to nobody. Ain't no repercussions, for real. All right, so coming back to Psalms, Amos 9, and I'm gonna jump to the point, verse 2. Though they dig into hell, dealing with the bunkers, and they dealing with what? The rulers, the heads, these heathens that's raging to the point they're gonna shoot missiles but run. So though they dig into hell from the fires they're gonna cause, right? Then shall my hand take them. See that? Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. Exactly. So that they're gonna be trying to fight Yahushua and they come back, aerial attacks, and some of them gonna be hiding under the ground in bunkers, all from during and from World War III, all right? Which they're gonna cause, that's gonna ultimately cause them to lose their power. But their very thought was that it would keep them from losing their power or keep them in power. You see that? And though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, some of them going to be in mountains, I will search them and take them out thence. And though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, some of them got bunkers under the ocean, under the waters. Thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them. And they shall go into captivity before their enemies. Right, the so-called white man, y'all white people, you crackers going in slavery, bro. Thence will I command the sword, and it shall slay them, and I will set my eyes upon them for evil and not for good. All right, these are manifold scriptures. All right, so the Lord gonna destroy America, bro. It's that simple. So Psalms 46:6, the heathen rage. It says the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. See that? The heathen rage. They brought World War III ultimately to chip, and it caused them to come out of power, ultimately made a time to where Yahushua and the angels will have to come back and fight for his people and save us. He uttered his voice, sent Yahushua back. Yahushua here now, and the earth melted. See that? Because the true king is in power, is here now. Yahweh Shem Yahushua of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. And this is going to prove it's talking about World War III, basically. Salah. Come, behold the works of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. What desolations hath he made in the earth? He make it wars. See, he make it wars to cease. He make it wars to cease unto the end of the earth. See that? Unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. So he take out dog fighters, airplanes, helicopters. He could break missiles. Catch missiles like they showed you through the movie Black Adam, which a lot of that was witchcraft, but nonetheless, he make it wars to cease, man, dealing with World War III. Be still and know that I am Yahweh Shem Yahushua. I will be exalted among the heathen. See? I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. Yahweh Shem Yahushua is with us. See, he is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Salah. Because why would you notice if he wasn't with you, man? So when you read this same scripture in the RSV, this is verse 6. The nations rage, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice, the earth melts. So that's it, man. All right. So the Lord is seeing these heathens raging to the point to where they're gonna create World War III, but it's just gonna bring the end of their kingdom. It's just gonna bring him to move to be like, okay, they just got to come out of power, all right? And send Yahushua back, beam us up, and then we go over and go on and take over with him, And everything's going to be changed. So that's basically what this is dealing with. So basically, that every time the heathen act crazy, they lose their power, and the Lord puts somebody else in that stead. That's basically what it's talking about. So call them like Yahweh Shem Yahushua till next time.